Hi, my name is Jessica Crump, and we are here in my husband Rob and my real estate office on 6th Street in Wallace, Idaho. Tonight we are kicking off a video series of interesting folks from our community with the hopes that we can all get to know our neighbors better. With that said, I am excited for our first guest, newly appointed Shoshone County Interim Sheriff and next term candidate, Shawn Wehr. If you have any interest in being a guest, we'd love to hear from you, and we hope you enjoy. So, Friday,
how was my day today?
Yeah.
So far, it's a little after 5.
Yeah.
So not done yet. I usually get an early morning start and a late night finish, especially these last 3 weeks since I've been appointed sheriff. But yeah, no, my days are busy. It's very positive. My calendar is full, but I'm having a great time.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I can imagine that when you say your day is done, it's not actually done.
True. The sheriff's office is, well, as the sheriff, it's a salary position, so it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can, appoint my undersheriff to cover that, but I haven't at this point. So there are those times when we have the 2 o'clock in the morning call for some advice or some information. A lot of texts and phone calls just on heads up, this is what's going on, or do you want to provide input to this? Normally, if the officers are involved and the deputies are involved in something extreme. And so we have had that, and that's okay too, and that's what I'm there for. So yeah, there's no end to your shift. Do I try to stay around the office times around 9 to 5 because that's when the courthouse across the street is busy. That's when I can get administrative things done. That's when I can attend most meetings, but usually my evenings are also filled with now playing catch up with what I haven't been able to do because I've been on meetings, and also anything that I'm doing with the campaign and things like that.
Well, thank you for making time for us in this interview.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, obviously busy. So we should probably get this started because I know you probably want to get back to life, but it seems like that may be interrupted. I guess first we should start with you introducing yourself and maybe taking a minute to tell folks how you ended up here in Shoshone County.
Okay, that's a good first start.
It's a big question.
So my name is Shawn Wehr. I am currently the sheriff of Shoshone County. Where this all started was when I was a kid growing up. I was a Navy brat, and so I kind of lived all over the world. I was actually born in Alaska and lived in Puerto Rico, but the one constant in my family was my dad's parents lived in Calder, which is South Shoshone along the Joe, and then my mom's parents, and she was raised in Elk Creek. And so when my dad got out of the Navy, he got a job in the Spokane area. He was an electrician, so that's where he could go and get a good job and still be as close as he could to family. And so every holiday, summer, vacation, spring break was spent in Shoshone County at one of my grandparents' house. My grandpa Wehr, my dad's parents down on the Calder side were beekeepers. So he ran a honey farm between Calder and Avery. So that was fun. I grew up getting stung a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I know about bees and honey, and it was very interesting. And then on this side, up in the valley, my grandparents were in Elk Creek, and my grandma retired from the Elk Creek Elementary School. And when I was a kid, the school was still there. And she retired as the lunch lady from Elk Creek Elementary. And my grandpa, he worked at Bunker Hill and retired out of the Sunshine Mine.
Oh, all right.
And then he was, I know up into his 90s, he was running parts for Dave Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he's
he was
definitely
worker.
been around then.
Yeah. So then what happened is this was my constant because I never lived in the same house for 2.5 years, I figured out in my childhood. Not the same house for any more than 2.5 years. So when I graduated high school, I was still 17 because I was young for my grade. I joined the Army. My dad was able to sign me over to the Army. And I joined the United States Army and went into the Rangers. I served 4 years in the 2nd Ranger Battalion, and I did a tour of combat. So I'm a veteran, and I'm very proud of that. I'm a life member of the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, out of Osborne office. So that's nice. But as long as I can ever remember, I mean, from my childhood, I wanted to be a police officer.
Okay, I was going to ask you
So,
that.
I mean, I wanted to do the Army thing, and I loved it. I absolutely did. And amazing people that I still keep in touch with, the amazing people from that period of my life. But I always wanted to be a police officer. And even if we were playing matchboxes with the neighbor kid, my matchbox, even if it wasn't a police car, well, then that just meant it was an undercover police car.
Very good. That makes sense.
So, so I knew I was going to be a cop. I got out of the Army, and I went to the first job available close to Fort Lewis, because that's where I was getting out of the Army. And I actually started the Reserve Police Academy before I was done with the Army, out processing with the Army. So I transitioned right into law enforcement. I went to the Reserve Police Academy for Washington State. And, you know, during that time in that Reserve Academy, they were referencing a lot back then about, well, LAPD does things this way. In Los Angeles, this is how the police do things. And I'm like, I'm still type A personality. I said, I'm going to go to LA then.
Sure.
I mean, that's where I'm going. And I drove to LA. I'd never been in a big city in my life, except for Seattle, because I did see a Seahawks game once in the 80s.
So it was a bit shocking then.
So I just like, I mean, we didn't have our phone map, so I just found a map on where City Hall was in Los Angeles, and I drove there on my own, and I started the processing for the LAPD, and I got hired. And then I ended up doing 29 and a half years for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Wow.
A place I'd never been to or ever thought of going in my life, but it was an absolutely amazing career that I had with them. It was very, very busy, very fast-paced. Big city is not where my heart was. I kind of feel like I'm a country boy at heart,
Sure.
just the way I grew up and
Where
I feel like I am as a person. But I just love that pace of law enforcement work.
Sure.
And I met my wife there. We had children raised there. And as I came to retirement, and my wife also knew that my desire was to move back, what I consider home, Shoshone County, when we retired. And she had been here several times anyhow for family events, and she agreed. And I mean, the day I retired, we were northbound to Shoshone County, bought a house in Pinehurst, and we've been living there for 3 years now. And yeah, it's been great to be back home. I could have retired anywhere in the world with my LAPD pension. I retired as a lieutenant too. And that's wonderful. And I chose to live in the Silver Valley. And so I was retired happily for a couple years, where we were just doing our happy little retired life, and it was fun. It was really nice. And I just felt like, you know, I'm still young. I still have something left in me. I don't know if young's the perfect definition, but I still felt young.
That's what matters.
Yeah, and I'm like, I still got something in me. And it's funny, I looked at the county site, because my entire life has worked for the government since I was 17.
Sure.
So, and they had an opening for the bailiff's court security position. And I interviewed and got that job, and I started doing that, and it was wonderful. It was a fun job. But at that time, what was going across the street from the courthouse as the sheriff's office was just absolute chaos. And it was sad for me to watch from my background of law enforcement. And I was feeling like, gosh, something should be done over there. Yeah. And then they appointed a new sheriff, and then he resigned, and I just said, I've got to put my name in the hat for this process. I have too much background education. I have my bachelor's degree. And like, I just have too much to still give to an organization like this. And I could really be of help. My leadership style would be good for the sheriff's office after the chaos that they've been through.
Why do you think your leadership style would be good for it?
My leadership style is, I mean, it really is positive first. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing that you can do as a leader is to support your people. And that means my the supervisors right under you, all the way down to the rookie that just got out of the
Sure.
academy or just got appointed. And they weren't having that kind of leadership.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, wow, they need some positive influence with somebody that's very experienced in the field of
some
law enforcement.
support.
And I was seeing, other things over there where I didn't feel like they were being represented appropriately. And I did get over there 3 weeks ago, and I have to say it's basically what I thought it would be, in a sense that there's really good people there.
Yeah.
There are wonderful people there, and they are working hard, and they want to do what's right for the county, for the community. And but it's not without their own struggles. We
Sure.
have limited resources, and right now we're low on personnel after what has happened in the last, I would say, 5 months of time frame for the sheriff's office.
Yeah, a lot of instability for them.
And so yeah, it's been a great experience. I know a lot of questions I get, especially from the deputies, which is really good questions. They ask me lots of really good questions. One of them says, how does a big city, big lieutenant from the city, how are you finding adjusting to sheriff of a small community? And I said, wow, what a great community, what a great question, because I was like, the leadership doesn't change though.
Right.
I was in the same leadership positions in the LAPD with 10,000 sworn members, in charge of hundreds of people, as I am with the sheriff's office as a leader with 4 executive positions on the sheriff's department total, and 26, 30 operating sworn officers on the department. Currently. So we're very small, and that includes custody and patrol.
Okay.
So the leadership doesn't change. The challenges are a bit differently.
Sure.
A bit different, of course, but no, I'm finding it very challenging, rewarding, and fun, and just to watch them respond to a little bit of positivity that they unfortunately have been lacking in. And then, I promise them, hey, I won't embarrass you guys.
That's a big deal.
I'll be good. And the thing that I feel like I bring most to the table for them is the fact that I'm going to take care of them, which in turn takes care of the county.
Sure.
When it comes to liability, probably the biggest thing with the experience brings to the table is understanding a situation going down and what those ramifications can be to the county's liability. And more importantly, to the deputy's liability. Could they get in trouble for this? Do they need my leadership and guidance to make sure they're not putting themselves in a position of liability?
Yeah. And with the internet, that's an easy position to put yourself in these days. Everybody's watching, everybody has opinions. What is your take on law enforcement visibility and the way that we are now seeing more and more, I don't know if I want to call it transparency, but we very much enjoy, we don't watch a lot of television, but we do. When we do, we tune into like the sheriff's office channels or the police department and all the big cities, and we like to watch what they're doing. It's just like it makes things relatable that aren't relatable, because you can kind of see what they're dealing with. I feel like a lot of folks don't have any idea what type of things, not just the sheriff's office, but our local police departments here are dealing with too. How could you see sharing more with what's going on with their day-to-days with the community, so they have more appreciation and understanding for the humans doing the job?
No, that's really good. And social media is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I'm not a big social media user in my personal life, if hardly anything at all.
That's great.
But I realize social media can be used as a positive tool for law enforcement.
Sure.
And the one thing that I'm making sure that we are doing is, before we're putting a post out on the sheriff's page, is that it's looked at by more than just my set of eyes. I'm my undersheriff, my patrol, and my custody lieutenants. we're in it as a team to make sure that we're pushing out a very precise answer, that it is honest and transparent, and I would hope it to 99% of the time be positive. Unfortunately, it's not going to always be positive because the law enforcement job deals with a lot of tragedy,
Sure.
and sad things actually that happen in our society, and so that information will be put out. I do like to use the social media as the human piece, like you were alluding to, with the me and the undersheriff went to the Easter celebration in Kellogg. So, we put our picture in there.
That's great.
And he won the Peep. It's a great big Peep. So, I mean, the Peep will be seen later in the sheriff's page.
Perfect.
For different holidays. And we want to keep that going too, because it's super important. I think it's what I would convey as somebody with over 34, 35 years of military and law enforcement experiences is to be understanding of the deputies and all the police officers in the Silver Valley and Shoshone County, because they are dealing with the hard things, the difficult things, and 2 o'clock in the morning when everybody else is asleep, and they're there cleaning up pieces sometimes of other people's lives. And I think one of the important things that with my background and experience does is I 100% relate to them.
Yeah.
When I get that call in the middle of the night and it's like, we need the chaplain to respond, we're at a death scene, it's really gory, and we're going to get the chaplain over there. And in talking to, a deputy later on in the shift, and he's like, hey, Sheriff, I'm glad we got the chaplain over there, because I talked to him too. And I mean, that's heartfelt.
Sure.
And you know what I told him? I know you did.
Yeah.
I know, because I've been there too. I've picked up the pieces for several years, and I know what you're going through. I know what your mind's going through. And we all want to be tough men and women in law enforcement. And honestly, they are. They are very tough men and women. And
they sacrifice a lot.
They sacrifice a lot, but it doesn't remove their humanity.
Sure.
And there are things that happen in my career that to this day, middle of the night, I could just think about and go, gosh, that was awful.
What is the scariest thing that's happened to you during your law enforcement career?
The scary things when you're fighting for your life is one thing, and you will remember those, and sometimes you'll even wake up like remembering the emotion that you felt during that extreme situation. But those aren't the things that I think about often in my life from the past experience. And I relate this to the men and women in law enforcement today too. It's the little girl that died in your arms, It's the tragedy that you see of people's lives affected by difficult things. So, and I think that to me is more than the running gunfight.
So not something that happened to you, something that's happening to the people you're trying to protect.
And you feel for it. And it's human nature to wish you could do more.
Sure.
And people, they say, I believe in somebody's lifetime, I would say people in normal world deal with 2 or 3 very tragic incidents that they've seen. Very awful car accident with maiming of bodies, or children ejected, or a murder or a death, or anything that's just extremely tragic, maybe 2 or 3 times in their lifetime. Cops will see that every week.
Yeah.
In law enforcement. And you think that these officers in these small communities like we have in Shoshone County are isolated for that, and you see them parked and they're debriefing or something like that, and you're like, oh, these guys, they're not doing much around here. But the things that they are dealing with is the things that you don't see. And they really are. They're doing the hard things in this county, and they are sacrificing that little piece of their humanity to them, that they'll, just like me, that they'll never forget some of those incidents.
Well, on the other hand, what about the most positive thing that's happened to you in this career? I'm sure there's lots of things, but
I've been blessed. I have been very blessed at seeing a lot of positive things and remembering the positive things in my law enforcement career. And I expect to see more of them. And in the community, there are those things where, I remember one time there was a kid jumps into the running vehicle and throws it in gear at the gas station. I look over and then the mom's like screaming. You dive through the window and you push the brake and you're like, kid, what do you think? And,
I was that kid once. I
Yeah.
did that to my grandma.
And, you have those scenes and then, you see the parents, very proud and very happy that of your actions.
Sure.
And, officers don't get those opportunities much, but rest assured, these officers are ready to do that for you.
Yeah.
And we look forward to being able to save people,
Sure.
instead of just cleaning up the pieces. We love that. But I would say one of the biggest things that I have been really honored to have been a part of is managing and supervising law enforcement, and just watching them grow and watching their values and their experience and their minds grow into being a professional law enforcement officer from a citizen. And that's a difficult transition. And you'll see the videos. I mean, social media has no mercy. Mm-hmm. You'll see an officer that allows not allows, because you don't have the choice in the matter, is, the adrenaline gets away from them in a shooting, or they do something rational, or they're amped up at the end of a pursuit and they make mistakes. And, but boy, that is just human nature.
Right. It takes practice to get out of that, right?
It takes training and experience, and you've got to have that experience to be able to identify that you're in this heart-pounding moment and you need to take a breath.
Take control.
Take a breath. And it's very difficult to do. And with social media, everybody's your judge. And these folks, these men and women are doing, everything they can to do what's right, but we can't not do it mistake-free.
Yeah, people make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Absolutely. You were mentioning how many people are at the sheriff's office now. Is that a lower number than what it should be, or?
Currently, we are 11 positions total in the sheriff's office down. Now, that can sound very scary. In a sense, from my perspective, I don't like it, obviously. Mm-hmm. Where I feel as the sheriff we could produce our minimum expectation to the public is getting 2 more in patrol and 2 more in custody. Having 2 more in custody puts our jail, we have minimums to meet to hold our jail open and certified. And right now our jail is not certified. And one of the parameters that we need to keep it certified is they review how many detention officers, detention deputies that we have working at each shift around the clock. We can't be less than 2.
Okay.
And there's been several times where we are, so that in and of itself decertifies us. And our custody lieutenant's doing everything he can to schedule with our limited resources, but we have one good application in the works, and we're going in the right direction. We get those. The only other thing we can control to get the jail certified is how many bodies we have in custody. So right now we are under 30, but we can be as high as 48.
Oh, okay.
But there's been times where we've had a single custody deputy and over 48 inmates. And that's just unsafe. That's just unsafe.
Wow.
And the county has done what it's had to do. The sheriff's office had done what it's had to do. We're fixing that now. On the patrol side, 2 more bodies in patrol would really give us a better, rounder number of having an amount of deputies out there. I feel would be our minimums to serve this vast county that we police.
It is vast.
Yeah, it's 2,633 square miles. 80% or so of it is national and state lands.
But with roads that people access.
Correct. And people are
everywhere.
Are there, and they need law enforcement. So it is very large. An easy fix would be, sure, just double my budget, but that's just not what we're going to be able to do. It's not realistic. And so I think if we can get those 4 personnel, we would be sitting pretty good and running the numbers with the county clerk. Where we stand right now, that would still keep us under our budget.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so I'm happy about that. The budget's coming along. May is going to start new budget negotiations for October budget that comes around for the next fiscal year, and so that's exciting too. And I'm working on a lot of numbers that I would like to present to the county, and we'll see how that goes. I just don't see a time in my administration as sheriff that I will ever ask the taxpayers to pay more. No levies coming from my administration, nothing like that. We pay enough in taxes. Sure. We do not have a rich county to pool a bunch of resources for. I have some of my own relatives just getting by.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine just.
And our taxes are already higher than surrounding counties.
Yeah. Right. So that's not coming for the sheriff's office. Yeah. But that doesn't mean we can't fix our budget in other ways.
Sure.
The federal government, the state has lately been pulling some resources from us. And I think it's time to start articulating reasons to these organizations for grants and other measures to get some of our resources back. As, and financially, that's where we're going to have to go. I have big plans. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I have big plans for, like, if I could be sheriff for 10 years, which I would love to see happen. I've got it in me. Is completely restructuring our jail system. And so with the jail system, I'd like to do, and there's been some models, and just the other day I was at the Sheriff's Conference in Coeur d'Alene and met one of the designers of this idea for Shoshone County, and talking to him about how the new jail would be, how we could create a juvenile holding facility as well. Juveniles are very expensive to hold. And right now we take them all the way to Kootenai, but Kootenai's at about 130% of their juvenile load. Lots of discussions, but ultimately we already have federal government grants in the works that would pay for 55% of it. Well, hey, that's great, but I want 100% of it paid for. So, we're getting into these budget negotiations in May, and I'm gonna right away after that start working with some actual plans for the jail that I can present to federal organizations to get what we would like to see for a jail structure built and 100% funding. So there's a lot of that in the works. On the patrol side, I'm talking about resources that where we have the boat races coming in the St. Joe. In the summer, North Fork gets really busy. Yeah. These things, a resource that I'm going to bring to the table too is I'm a working sheriff. So I will be down at those boat races. I will be going up the North Fork. I will be patrolling as well. I'm lucky I've got a strong undersheriff that has good admin skills, and I feel comfortable with talking to him on the phone while I'm doing patrol activities. I know my patrol lieutenant is the same way. He's very active in the field, and both of us will be in the sheriff's office just itching to, let's go be cops.
Oh, that's great.
We're here, great. But let's go be cops, and so we're going to get that as much as we can too. Is
it normal for the sheriff to also be patrolling? I don't think.
Well, I think in bigger counties, absolutely not, because you really get pigeonholed into the administrative part. But we're not a big county, and we can control our admin. The other thing that we restructured just recently is there used to be a sheriff, an undersheriff, a patrol captain, a custody captain, a patrol lieutenant, and a custody lieutenant. Okay. Those 2 captain positions have been cut. We went from 6 administrators to 4 administrators. And all that means is the 4 of us do work harder on some admin projects, and you have a lieutenant working in basically a captain capacity, also doing lieutenant and captain jobs for like scheduling their personnel and stuff like that, and everybody's doing a great job at it.
That's good.
Yeah, we're working, but the citizens of Shoshone County deserve that. We all need to be working in the sheriff's office. We're too small to have a sheriff sitting in his office. That's how I feel, and no, I will definitely be out there as a force multiplier for the officers, for the deputies.
That's really great to hear. Definitely. You were mentioning grants and how many roads we deal with. We also deal with I-90, a large stretch of I-90. Rob and I, when we first moved out of town and into the woods, the fire danger became a very real thing for us. And as we are a county with limited resources, there isn't like a very instant notification for people if there's a fire. So we started listening to the scanner to give ourselves some security and to feel safe and to know whether we needed to take action around this or not. But throughout that, we've had the opportunity to hear a lot of things. And it's really clear how often calls that come in on 90 are dealt with, which means there's not somebody dealing with things off of I-90, you know, you're pulling from one place and going to the other. And then, you know, I'm sure it's something that you realize, but where we personally live, we live in a place where folks in their small airplanes like to come and do whatever they please. And we also, we're a help yourself sort of a person, so we don't take from the resources that are being challenged already with not having enough people. So we also downloaded an app for Flight Radar. So you can, through Flight Radar, you can see where the people are coming from, where they're going. And in Shoshone County, almost all the time they turn off their Flight Radar when they come into the county. We've have seen planes doing touchdowns right above our neighbors' houses. Some pretty crazy things. So we called the sheriff's department last year because it was during fire season and it was getting pretty scary, and there was no resolution. Nobody knew who to talk to at the airport or what to do. And it got us thinking, like, boy, I wonder if there's other things going on at the airport, you know, trafficking, anything. We have no idea what's coming and going from there.
You know, the one thing is I have been sheriff for just a couple of weeks, and I have heard of some cold cases. I have heard of some other concerns in the community that are more than just, you know, one person specific. Something like this, it would be obviously something I'd work with the FAA about. All flights are federally regulated. All communications are federally regulated. And so that would be a phone call with the FAA, just like it was a phone call with Bureau of Land Management when last weekend a Jeep group pulled out all their signs so they could still access a non-motorized part. So, I mean, there's just such a myriad of different things that we handle. Yeah, and I want to handle them all. I do. And so, but a lot of times I'm going to have to call in our law enforcement partners, like BLM has their own special agents to work on stuff. So, you know, and I have a meeting next Tuesday with BLM special agent about law enforcement on BLM lands, and I'm going to deputize 7 of them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So, and then with the FAA, that would be a phone call, and then we'd have to get specifics on that. I'll call. We have the county airport. I can talk to the commissioners about getting a connection between the sheriff's office and the county airport and their radar and information. So, I mean, these are all very interesting things that I'm just not going to turn my back on.
You haven't figured it all out yet?
I am going to look into it. That's my job. And, you know, that's the exciting part of my job.
Yeah.
You know, the non-exciting part of my job is sitting there with a pen and writing things up. But that's okay, too. We can get there. But, yeah, for sure, I want to get into those aspects. I'm very concerned about you know, the North River and the Joe during special events and all the camping and drinking that goes on. And
it's wild.
I mean, I will be a big part of that this summer, and that's going to be a lot of fun as well. And the sheriff's office is going to deploy their resources appropriately with what we have to cover those events. As far as the 90 goes, it's a big, fast way for bad guys to do bad things through our state. And I envision in the near future, I've worked FBI task force and I've supervised FBI and ATF task forces as a lieutenant on the LAPD. And I want to get some of those task forces with our federal partners together on some of those. It'd be pretty easy to articulate the facts and the needs for the resources for the federal agencies to assist us. And I don't want people to think that, oh, does that mean we're going to have a bunch of FBI agents in Shoshone County looking around? It actually doesn't work that way. It is more of a, we want to produce these things, but we need the resources to do so. And it's us articulating to the federal government, them providing resources and money mostly to us for us to build our resources and then affect change of what we're trying to do with the task force. I know that sounds vague,
no,
but
it does make sense.
Be.
You're not trying to take money from the taxpayers. You're trying to find money from the place that should be helping us deal with these problems.
The federal government has big pockets, and they're able to come into these and help these small communities with their resources.
Why don't you think that's been happening? Do you think that the leadership before didn't know their resources that they could call on?
I mean, I don't want to speak for any of the other prior administrations because honestly, I just don't know. I think it's something that sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing. And maybe their concentrations were on other things of importance, but I can bring that aspect of, complexity to Shoshone County to add to our law enforcement for sure.
And so probably your experience working in LA has allowed you to be aware of resources like this.
For sure. And for relationships that I've built in the past in my career and calling out and talking to the right people who know the right people to get those resources. I know in the LAPD, we wanted all these new boats for our dive unit, and just properly articulated to the federal government. They're like, yeah, we want to work with you guys. We had well over $1 million grant that bought us these really nice boats for our dive unit. And then they included 5 years of maintenance on top of it. Here you go, guys.
Great.
And, there wasn't never a federal agent with boots on the ground. It was us doing it for our community, but now with these advanced new resources to do it with.
Makes sense. It seems like, not everybody at the sheriff's office is somebody you'd like to still be there who has left, but potentially some folks who have left are people that maybe you do want to come back. What do you have to say to those people, and how can you make being at the sheriff's office better for them to where they would feel safe?
I think the word is already out. I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but the word is already out that the leadership is positive, and it's welcoming for them to come back. I mean, they'll still have to go through the same process and everything, just like any other lateral officer. But if they want to come back home to Shoshone County, we're welcoming to it.
I've definitely heard that there are folks out there who have not shut that idea out.
Correct.
Hoping to see them come back around.
We have two laterals that are interested in making their way back to the sheriff's department as it stands right now.
That's great news.
Yes.
What about our local police departments? I know that you all rely on each other to keep our community safe. How do you probably already have, but how do you plan on having it be more of a y'all are working for the same thing instead of it being this the sheriff's office, this the police department? Like, how are you bringing the unity?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that's a very important question. I think the third day after I was sworn in, probably one of the very first things I did was reach out to the chiefs of the valley. There's 3 other chiefs. Pinehurst has a chief, Osborne has a chief, and Kellogg has a chief. And we all met and had lunch and introduced ourselves and talked amongst ourselves, our expectations. And the meeting was very good. Okay. And I think the biggest thing about that is we were all open to work with each other. Great. And the plan is that anytime we need each other, we exchange phone numbers. I was with the chiefs today again, and we were talking about the award ceremony coming up for the shooting incident that happened before I was here. And so how we're working together to provide a good award ceremony for
Great.
the officers on that. So, I mean, we're working well together. I have no doubt that if I was to call for their resources, they're going to come screaming in, and vice versa. The working relationship is good. And it doesn't, the officers working in the middle of the night, they're already doing that amongst themselves. They have good relationships. The officers throughout the Silver Valley work well together, very good together. And most of my debriefs include Pinehurst officer or Kellogg officer and your deputy or
Makes sense.
Osborne, and so they are working together well.
That's
And yeah, we have good relationships with law enforcement, local law enforcement throughout. I'm reaching out to Idaho State Patrol. Idaho State Patrol, the way I understand it now, reading news articles, is they're 40% down of their goal level. So although I have seen Idaho State Patrol here and there, their resources are really
yeah,
low
we've
right
noticed
now.
that.
Yeah, and so when we say, hey, our resources are low, we're not alone in this. Shoshone County is not alone in low resources. This is a almost nationwide. I'm sure there's specific agencies that have filled. I've talked at the sheriff conferences. I talked to sheriffs. There's 44 of sheriffs in the state of Idaho, and I talked to many of them. And a lot of them were saying, especially as smaller counties, were saying the same struggles with hiring. This is not new. And some of the bigger agencies had different challenges at the time, but yeah.
Do you think that it has anything to do with the way that law enforcement has been portrayed the last however many years, or is it most likely financial?
I think it's twofold. For the ISP, the article I read is they're losing their people once they're fully trained to more paying agencies.
Sure.
And I'm heartfelt to that myself as I get a really good, I have a sergeant right now whose last day was yesterday.
Oh.
Okay, so he's gone. An excellent sergeant, and he went to Post Falls, but he almost doubled his salary from Shoshone County, and he lives over the hill already. So I can't compete with that. I doubt if I'll ever be able to compete with that. So there's other things we're going to have to bring to the table for Shoshone County moving forward to retain our people as well.
Right. Yeah, it's really hard you can't blame them, but hard to train them up and then send them off to another place.
We're presenting next Tuesday to a group that we have in the courthouse on a pay scale committee. And this is for all the department heads, but specific to the sheriff's department, I've created a pay scale with the undersheriff that he started working on before I even got here. And we've just made adjustments since I've been here on changing the pay scale for our deputies that is more in line with the rest of the country's law enforcement pay scales. So as it stood right now, the deputies are working on like a pay matrix, and it really doesn't have any law enforcement sense to it because it's not pay increases based on your capabilities or your seniority. It was just how many years you had on or what we need to do is make the pay scale more in line, and we're presenting it. It's getting a positive review right now from across the street in the courthouse. Is our deputies, law enforcement in general, need to be paid according to their certification level.
Sure.
Right? Because there's so many things that are different. You can't say, well, a civilian employee, clerk type employee in the courthouse makes this much money, so why should a deputy make any more than that? And I think that's just really, it's easy to explain in other areas of the country, but it seems like that topic comes up here, and I think it's an education piece that they don't fully understand what a police officer, what our deputies have to do to get to the position that they're doing. They have to test to come onto the job. They're doing physical fitness tests, physical tests with the doctor, mental evaluation tests, polygraph examinations, backgrounds. They have to be squeaky clean. They have to do all these things, and then they get an interview, and then if they get selected, they have to go, if they're custody, they're going to a 5-week school.
That's what I heard.
Okay, so you got to go to a 5-week school that you can fail, that is difficult. You're doing PT every day. You have standards that you have to meet. You're dealing with all the training and the law to learn all that stuff. The culpability of getting into a civil liability is strong. So you need to understand not just the criminal laws, but the civil laws. And then if you're on patrol, think of that. You know, the patrol guys are looking at the custody guys going, well, you guys are in a controlled environment. Is it really? I mean, that's a tough environment, the jail. Imagine being out in the streets all by yourself.
Yeah, seriously.
And you're out there with all of those liabilities and you're making those split-second decisions. Carrying a gun and possibly having to take somebody's life, it's just an enormous amount of responsibility that you take a young person. Custody does 5 weeks of training and everything leading up to that. And then a patrol deputy has a 16-week course as it stands now, which I believe it's moving to 18 weeks, to complete a course just to be a rookie. And then they come up here and have to work with the training officer. And then learn all the dangers of the field to keep yourself alive, protect others, and then keep the liability of the county from getting sued. I mean, if you don't have good leadership for these young people, then you're going to have a lot of, you could potentially have people hurt, but you're going to have a lot of liability.
Sure, sure. A lot of turnover regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be really tough. Rob and I, as I said before, we listened to the scanner. I don't know what law enforcement thinks about that or not, but where it leads our brains always is, oh my gosh, I wish there was something we could do to help.
Oh.
We hear, I mean, through the crazy windstorms and the flooding, all you hear is about how officers are out, you know, sawing up trees in the middle of the freeway, or, you know, pulling people out of their houses, or, you know, not able to think about their own families who are also at home, most likely dealing with the chaos that's going on. Is there anything in place where there's like a system where the officers get checked on and their families? Like, is there anything the community can do to help you guys out?
Well, and that's my job to convey that to the community. And I feel like the officers are getting the support. If I discover more is needed, then I will do that outreach. I do have, we are mending a relationship that shockingly was not really tight, and that was between the volunteer search and rescue of Shoshone County and the sheriff's office. And I always expected that the sheriff's office would have their own search and rescue team be a strong part of their organization, especially in a rural
like
environment.
This.
And we are very blessed as a county, because just like what you were describing about you and Rob, we have many citizens that are here to help.
Yeah.
What can I do? Give us the word, Sheriff.
Yeah, for sure.
And we need to harness that, because we have a lack of resources.
Right.
You know, we had 10,000 sworn police officers in Los Angeles. So when I picked up the phone and I said, I need bodies here now, I just got them. We don't have, that's not the same world we live in here. But we can harness assets like search and rescue when we have a missing person, when we have somebody stranded, and even just people saying, hey, I don't know where my family member is, especially like in the wintertime and stuff like that. We think they're in this area. I say, let's get on the phone. Let's get all our assets out there. And what I really love, what I'm already realizing, is these search and rescue folks, they want to do this.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, they're like, let's go. And I have people in the community that are like, hey, I want to be a part of this too. You know, that's great. So we just need to, I think in my case, all I have to do is encourage it, and it's just going to happen.
I do totally.
And so I don't know how that wasn't done in the past. I can't say, but it is open now. Last Sunday, the volunteer search and rescue at 9 o'clock in the morning had a training. Oh. And when their training started at 9 o'clock in the morning, the undersheriff was there.
Oh, cool.
Undersheriff has a background in search and rescue as well, because I was down on the St. Joe on another issue, meet and greets, and they were just absolutely shocked. They called and thanked us and just said, I mean, this is great to start mending this, and we want to do these things. And so I'm excited to see that relationship grow. They are part of the sheriff's office. We need to get, I mean, I'm already like, okay, we need to get some cool shirts.
Yeah, I can tell you're excited.
We need to get some cool shirts, Sheriff Search and Rescue.
Heck yeah.
And
I know that guy'd like to wear one.
and these folks are going to just handle it. I know they will.
For sure.
And with that being said, I was down on the Joe at that time in Calder, and their community is the same, and they're used to hardly any resources of law enforcement. But I met with their volunteer fire. I met with their school administrator. Calder has its own little school. It was just, I mean, they're even a microcosm of us in the valley. We think we have limited resources here. They're really small.
Yeah, how far away? Like you get a call for Calder.
Yeah, if you're not hitting the pass is obviously closed. We're open on our side up to the top of Moon Pass, but the backside still has so much damage it's not open yet. But yeah, you're going around the 3 into Kootenai and then Benoit and back into Shoshone.
It's crazy.
Just to get to the Joe. I mean, it's a pretty good response. Now, we're lucky to have our patrol lieutenant lives in the St. Mary's area.
Oh, I think I heard that.
And so what we do with him is we have him with a take-home car, Shoshone County car, because he's our nighttime and weekend response unit.
Yeah.
And he has done it several times. Today was his day off on Friday, and I heard he's 1203 if you hear him on the radio.
Oh, thank you. There you go. Write that down.
I'm 1201. If you hear 1201, that's
all right,
the sheriff.
Rob. We're always guessing.
Yeah. So I heard 1203. He's down on the Joe because he was doing something, and I just really appreciate him, and he loves that community, and that community loves him. But we also have our backwoods deputy, and she's just amazing. I don't know. I don't want to always put all their names out there,
all right.
but she's so darn good. I'm going to have to make her a sergeant soon.
All right.
But I go down to these communities, and they're just like, "Hey, we love these officers. Can we see more of them?"
That's so great.
So yeah, that's wonderful in those small communities as well.
How excited were they to see you?
They liked it. It was great. It was great. It was nice because I was able to walk through with the school administrator on school security protocols, and I had worked 6 years in Metropolitan Division, which that division and the platoon I was in, C platoon, was all about facility and dignitary protection details. So it was interesting from my perspective how this little school was designed and what their security protocols are. And she was just doing an amazing job with, she goes, "I'm going to do this, and we have this set in place." And it was wonderful to have that conversation with her, and that they're so ready for that on their own. And and we just need to get more resources down there, and we are. And we'll be down there for the boat races, and just listening to them about, sometimes when we get resources down there, it's for a special event, but then we leave, and then because we have limited resources, and they're like, and that's when the real stuff kicks off.
Yeah, because they know you're not there anymore.
All these people from Washington think just lawless Idaho, and they come over here and they're like, "We need you here at night." Well, these boat races are going to be different. If you're from Washington, you can turn this off right now, because I don't want you to know that we're working 2 shifts of nights for the boat races.
Great.
Yes, to facilitate what their concerns
Makes sense.
were. Yeah, so we'll be down there in the day, including myself, and we'll be down there in the evenings.
That's great.
Yeah.
I imagine Coeur d'Alene River, we aren't seeing as many. I mean, there's definitely Washington folks, but there's a ton of Kootenai County folks who come and enjoy the river and use our resources.
Yes.
I can't imagine how Kootenai County could come and help out with that, but is there a way to? We see hundreds and hundreds of people up the river, weekend, weekday, event, no event, and it's pretty crazy. And there's a lot of road that goes up the river. When you guys go out there, how do you deal with communications as poor as they can be?
Well, as far as communicating with each other, we can obviously communicate on the radio about where we send our resources is really having connections with our community. My first week as the sheriff, I went with the Friends of the River Coalition, and I got a tour of North Fork from the people that are the most concerned about their neighborhood
Yep.
and what their concerns are in the summer. And it was wonderful. We ended up spending like half a day.
Hey, that's great. We appreciate it.
Driving
We're the
around
same
and
neighborhood.
looking,
We're glad you know.
And she did a freaking amazing job of saying, Sheriff, these are going to be your concerns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's my business card and my sheriff's cell phone number.
That's great.
So if you need resources, call me.
That's
And
really
so
great.
I think what's critical for Shoshone County Sheriff's Office is that we have those very close relationships with community members and with community organizations, that their best intent is for what's best for our county, that we have open lines of communication and we can respond to their needs, because they're going to have the intelligence before us many times.
Yeah. It's hard for us. I told you several times, listen to the scanner. We want to help. There's so many times we're like, should we call them and tell them? We can see what they're talking about right now, and we just don't leave you. We leave you guys alone. You know how to do it. But it's definitely great how curious and how much most of our community actually does care about each other.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have the support of the community in our county, and it was fun going to special events and just seeing the support that the people have, to see our deputies in uniform and the business owners, the citizens and residents of Shoshone County. It's very positive.
That's really great.
It's wonderful.
As you've traveled around to all of these, the outskirts of our county, what are your favorite questions that you've gotten from these folks? Like things that you didn't realize were going on or that you could potentially help with?
I think it was just learning a different part of the county that I feel like I'm very familiar with from my own little upbringing and the world that I live in, but to see their very individual concerns from some of the smaller communities that haven't been addressed in the past, that's very interesting. I think one of the things that hasn't been done consistently in the past that I've realized is having agreements amongst the county, especially the county sheriff's office and the different cities. Sure. I know right before I was appointed sheriff, the Wallace City Council was discussing about, changing from using the sheriff's office as their law enforcement entity and either creating their own or contracting some other way. And I was listening to that, and I'm like, how can that be? Wallace is the center. It's the center of our county for where the courthouse is. It just makes sense. So I immediately reached out to the mayor. I met with the mayor of Wallace, and then I went to a city council meeting and just pled the case that, hey, this is where we should be with our law enforcement, and let's have that open line of communication. The sheriff's office is open for providing a service that you feel like you're not getting. And in doing so, I pulled the contract between Wallace and the sheriff's office. And sure enough, in part of that contract, it says right there, the city can voice their concerns through the mayor contacting the sheriff directly. And I highlighted that. I said, guys, let's start doing this. Let's work together. We got this. And so tell me what we're not doing so we can do that.
Sure.
And we'll tell you what we need or what our expectations are. And the way we can do that for all the different cities and entities, not just cities, but other organizations, is through memorandums of understanding or memorandums of agreements. And those are just documents that spell out, hey, here's what we can do for you. Here's what you can do for us. Here's what we expect from you, and them telling us what we expect from them. And then there's no question about if there's an emergency, if there's something that needs to be done, that we know what resources are going where, how, and why. And some of those come with expenses, expenditures, and budgets of their own. One of them that I just signed the other day was a memorandum of agreement between the courts and the sheriff's office on how we're dealing with drug court. And I identified our lieutenant of custody to be in charge of the court liaison for the drug court communications, which we haven't had in the past. And so we were able to sign that agreement and provide them the resources they were asking for.
That's great.
We can do that for the cities as well.
All right. I didn't know that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. It hasn't been much of a thing.
Okay.
As I'm seeing. I have some of them. I think the newest one I have is from 2023, but I have a lot of older agreements that need to be updated. And Mineral County sent me their memorandum of understanding, because we should also have one with every county sheriff's office that touches Shoshone County. So I'm also working on those.
That probably ties into what happened at the sheriff's office, right? Like response times, who comes, how people help. I'm sorry, the shooting that happened at the sheriff's office.
Well, let me be clear. If there's any emergency,
Sure.
then we're going to have an emergency response. So we'll worry about the paperwork
Doesn't
later.
matter.
Law enforcement in North Idaho is going to take care of ourselves and our sister agencies around
Yeah, it
us.
seems like that. You show up for
100%.
Kootenai County, they show up for you, you know.
But we should also have those agreements where we understand a certain amount of resources go, not all of the resources.
Yes, that makes sense.
What happened in Mumbai, India, created a tactic within the Los Angeles Police Department, which I was a part of developing, called MACTAC, and that's Multiple Assault Counterterrorism Action Capabilities. And essentially what that is an organization can and has in the past throughout the world created a major safety issue incident in one location, used only as a ruse to gather law enforcement resources, so their actual event can take place in a more popular. Yes,
yeah.
And so we do need to come to those understandings. And I know I've talked to Sheriff Bob Norris, and he's up on all of that stuff too. He's very knowledgeable on those type of incidents. So, but we need to work together. That could be part of our MOUs and MOAs.
Well, I guess for those in the community who aren't aware of when the election is, when do we all need to get in and make our votes by?
The election is May 19th. What we have on the sheriff's side is all three sheriff candidates are running as Republicans.
Yeah.
And so...
Hasn't happened for a while.
No. I don't know if Shoshone County has ever had a Republican sheriff.
I'm not aware.
But at this point, there will be a Republican sheriff. We have to vote on, because we're all three Republicans, May 19th selects the sheriff.
Sure.
There's no Democrat or independent running in the race. And then you will hold through to the general election in November and be the elected.
So no matter what, like I've seen a lot of folks be like, oh, you're only going to be the interim sheriff for a month. And the reality is you are, regardless of how the elections go, you are not leaving office the moment that the elections happen, correct?
Correct. My appointment is until January.
So no matter what, you've got some time to get some stuff done.
Correct. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, even if I lose the election, I would be in place till January, until the new sheriff is sworn in by the public.
Pretty crazy. Well, I think we've talked about an awful lot.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot more we could talk about. Is there anything that you would like to say that we haven't talked about?
No, just thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Well, I'd like you to do one more thing and just end off by telling the county something.
Okay. I just have to say that I absolutely love Shoshone County. I know I said it earlier in the interview that I could have retired and moved to anywhere else in the world, and I chose this. This is my home. It's where 5 generations of my family have lived or are living, and I'm so happy to be here, and I feel lucky and blessed to be your sheriff.
Thanks, Shawn.
Thank you.